Hello and welcome back. Alright, so in our posts here, I noticed that our dates are not showing. So let's go back to our resources, views, admin, and let's go to posts.blade.php. So that's probably because down here, instead of date, we don't really have a date column. We have a created underscore at column. So change that to created at. And let me come back here and refresh. At least we get one date there. It seems the others do not have a date because we were not saving dates at that time. So there we go. Okay, the second thing is we need a column here. Column, categories column, sorry. But the problem is that in our posts, we have just an ID for a column, or for a category, sorry. And the other problem is we don't have any records in our category. So let's add one just for the sake of having a dummy. So I'll go to the insert and I'll add one ID there because I'm adding one because I added one in the post table as the category ID. So I'll name this one food. Let me just click here to add the current date. Do the same thing over here and then I'll hit go. That way we have one record. If I go to browse here, you find one record there with an ID of 1, which is awesome because now we can map that to these category IDs over here. Okay, so now how do we read information to get the category ID there? So what I want to do is go to my admin controller, okay? Inside the posts function, let's go down here to where we're actually reading the posts themselves. So we are using the class here to read the posts. Now, in order for us to, because the problem is here, we are not using queries, so we can't really tell it to go and get information from the other table as well. But there's actually a way when we connect relationships, one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many relationships. Now, that's a very heavy topic, so I want to skip that instead to keep things simple. We will use that later because I found that it doesn't work very well when you have many rows like this. It's very heavy on the memory. So I want to keep this website as light as possible. So I won't use that. I will use it when somebody accesses just one post. At least there it makes sense. So for now, what I will do is remove this because let me use a different method to read these things here. So I'm going to mute that and mute that as well because I don't need them anymore. I'll leave them there. If you notice at the top here, we have this Illuminate Support Facade DB. So we're going to use that DB because it allows us to run a actual query. I'm better at running queries than having to jump through hoops to create one-to-many relationships and all that. So I'm going to say rows is equal to, and then I'm going to put that DB facade and then use the select keyword there so that I can read from the database. So in here, I'm just going to say select all from posts. This is exactly as what we did here. Just all was, once we do that, it creates a query like this and reads from the database. So to prove that this is correct, if I go back to my thing here, I will refresh and you will not see a difference. Okay, so good. Now we need a column here for the category. So we can write a query real quick to do that for us. So what I will do is create a query variable here just so I can have more space to write my query. And then I'll move the query over there, drag and drop like that. Okay, and then in here I will just put the query variable itself. Okay, so let's construct a query that will read from two tables. Now to read from two tables, it's very simple. You just say selector from whatever first table you want and then just tell it to join a second one. So I'll say join categories, which is the second table, but you have to tell it how to align the rows. So you tell it what is the common column in both of them. So pretty easy here. The category ID is the common one in the posts table, And then in the categories table, there's ID itself. That's what connects one to the other. The ID here and the category ID on the other side. And the only column we need here is category itself, because we just want the category name. Okay, so we have all the information we need now. Let's construct a query. So I'll say select all from posts, join categories on, so we are telling it where to join it on. On one side, it's category ID. On the other side, which is equal to, is just ID. But the problem is which table is which. So the one that contains the ID is the categories table. Categories.id. Fair enough. The one that contains category ID is the posts table. So posts.category ID, like that. So this is all good, but it won't work because we have to tell it which columns to get from which table. So I want all the columns from the posts table. So I'll say posts.star. Okay, and then comma. I need to tell it how many columns I want from the categories table as well. I can do the same thing if I want all of them, but I don't need all of them. I just want one column there which has the category name. So I'll say categories.category, because that's the column name, like that. And this is it. That's all we need. So if I come back here and refresh, hopefully I get the same result. You see that? Nice, nice. Only difference is that now we have an extra column here, which is called category. So I'm going to show you that. If we go to our posts.blade.php, which is inside resources, views, admin, let's come down here. Let's add an extra column, shall we? After content, right about there. Let's add this one and call it category. And then right here as well, let me duplicate that and just point to category here. Category, like so. And now if I refresh the page, you see that we have an extra column called category. Very nice. Okay, so in the next video, let's add some add and edit buttons on each one of these. Okay, I'll see you then.